Well, that's a lot of Corsman construction. Also, my pretender is still bumbling around, but we got some additional magic sites, and our allies have clashed with Pangaea, and it doesn't look too good for Pangaea. Yes, and that's an entire rest army of Boogerus stamped out by my allies' very own magic golem. Yeah, looks more and more like our game goes into the end phase. And yes, there's still this super global around slaughtering people everywhere. And special monsters have attacked since it's now eternal darkness everywhere. Some idiot got himself wounded and we found some treasure due to taxes or something. Yep, lots of things happening in the late winter of year 8. And 536 units have deserted. That's... in a normal game that would be a lot, but in our gimmick game it's... I mean, I would have preferred them getting killed in fighting Boogerus. But well, our upkeep is 9000, and if we can some of our soldiers deserting, well, then we get closer to neutrality. Anyway, most of what I'm doing is now magic related, so we don't have to care that much for it. Oh, and I forgot, I'm Libluini, and this is my Let's Play of Dominions 4 multiplayer. In our gimmick game that has been over since nearly a year now. I'm finally moving on the last turns of our game, and as you can see, my pretender is now near the theater of operations. I'm pretending to win the game still, even though in hindsight I already know what will be happening here. Spoilers, I'm not the one winning, even though I'm also not the one losing, except of course for that pesky last turn, when only one winner can emerge. Oh, anyway, we are still sieging one of Boogerus castles here in Windham, but we are also kind of breaking it up since he hasn't got enough dudes inside. And we have a lot of mages here, and a lot of troops, so as long as he has not hidden something magical as a surprise in it, we will get this castle. And then I can concentrate my forces and march onwards to siege those 3 to 4 more fortresses of Boogerus. Oh, I love this. That's the drawback of a gimmick game where everyone has tons of money. Soon every single province is fortified, and well, you have spent the time mowing them down one by one. And even though theoretically you can also have armies large enough to siege down a fortress in one single turn, regardless of how good it is prepared, that's not something you can do everywhere all at once. I mean, theoretically you could get to that point, but then you already have one, and well, then it's just a case of doing your thing until the win screen pops up. And since I'm not that superior to everyone else here, I still have to work. As you can see here, even with nearly over half a thousand deserters, there are still tons of armies everywhere, since many of said deserters probably came from the many garrisons I have everywhere in my giant realm. So one thing is left, that's this scripting. So much scripting. At least I don't really have to script my undeads, I just have to give them an order to march forward and that's it. The only thing which could complicate this is skeleton archers. But to get them I need a combination of, I think, death and fire. And that's surprisingly not one I have in ample supply right now. That's what comes with playing Air Death Nation. On the other hand, Air Magic has given me cheap supply of undead without using up my death games, so I guess I shouldn't complain. And yes, if you look closely, I already have forged new stuff to add another Chaosman Constructor Engineer to my growing staff of Air Death Mages. And I still have Raven Lords and some crap to make them even stealthier. But I've stopped using them as strike forces, since that's not doesn't make any sense with province defense cranked up to 11 everywhere on the map. Instead, I'm just using them as spies. And yes, I hear my cat is bored again. It has been a rainy day and she is kind of grumpy because she couldn't go out into our garden. So I have to do something soon, or she will scream until I do something, or she is tired and then she sleeps again. But I'm guessing at that point this episode will be long over. No, too early. I was thinking she needs blood medicine soon because of her too high blood pressure. But I still have a couple hours until she gets it. I can't give it too early. She's supposed to have that stuff in the evening together with her red food. And I'm boring you to tears with my cat talk. Sorry about that. So anyway, I'm teleporting some mages around, hoping to add them to my forces and stuff. Okay, sorry, I completely lost my train of thought there. Anyway, I think what I wanted to do is teleport that guy to support an army somewhere else where said army didn't have strong enough astral mages to protect them in case of enslaved golems running around. Enslave is this really nasty high level astral spell which can get you an entire army if you are unlucky. And if you are on the other side, you can easily lose an entire army. And this happened to me multiple times, right? Because I'm a slow learner. And because I'm sometimes a bit unlucky with positioning of my own astral mages. So shit happens, but shit happens more like, but well, I still broke through that pass in the mountains and got my foothold on the northern side. Too bad it took me far too long, and Garth in the meanwhile butchered his way clear to Bulgaro's capital, which means really, while I got thrones and territory out of this war, I'm still not winning fast enough to win the entire game. And still, Garth is far too powerful to become our enemy, especially since his territory is in like 2 turns range of my own capital, thanks to this giant mountain range separating both of us. That's how we met in the end. I couldn't expand nearly northwards due to that weird mountain range, and he couldn't really expand southwards, so we only met after we've both become quite a power. Well, just unlucky for me, I suppose, that the one direction where I didn't expand was the one where we met first. On the eastern side, well, as you can see, if there would have been war between us, he could have invaded from the west and the east and basically gotten to my capital in no time, both ways. That would have been a nasty defeat, regardless of how many forts I have in the south. Funnily enough, he wouldn't have got my pretender because I sent that huge raven downwards as soon as possible to spread my dominion. which is the reason why I still have the tons of Dominion, just not in my own capital. Oh, sweetie. No, oh, I hate it when she hides under my chair. Oh, come here. Ah, yes. She has some sort of weird cat detector to notice when I'm talking to the internet, I suppose, and then she gets filled with envy and wants me to stop. Ah well, what's more to talk about? Well, this is the second to last after commentary I'm making for this series, because after the next video I'm through with commentarless videos. The rest of the turns are ones where I made the commentary while I was recording. So that's for you guys, that will be like some weird kind of time travel, I suppose. Or you will suddenly be drawn back to me a year ago, ranting about stuff that's now completely irrelevant. Oh god, me English bad. And I will suddenly be a lot more optimistic about the outcome of this war. Ah, yes. I'm wondering, well, when I'm rendering and uploading the other recordings, I guess I'll see if my cat has made it in there somewhere. She really likes getting cranky when I'm recording things. And I'm still on my weird trip of renaming commanders, just to remember what I'm doing, which worked somewhat well in the game itself. Of course, as you can see, I stopped obsessively renaming everyone at some point, because like with scripting, there is a certain point where you just stop giving a damn. There is some kind of, what's the word? Diminishing returns with stuff like scripting and renaming. After a certain amount of effort, you get to the point where putting even more effort in would just diminish your ability to think strategically, since you are caught up in all those minutiae and so on. So, I think so at least. As soon as you've done the most of what you need to do to keep control of everything you're doing, you can stop bothering with it, because as long as let's say it like this: if you have thousands of units and hundreds of mages, chances are the final misstep getting you to lose them all will not be accidentally naming an air mage with a code, making you think he's a fire mage. What actually will happen will take all those hundreds of commanders and their troops and put them into the wrong situation against the wrong enemy, and they will all die horribly in battle. But it will not be on the one dumb mage you've named wrong. It will be utterly out of your hands, because the cause of this battle will be a strategic decision you made dozens of turns ago, and the outcome will be decided by an enemy army forged also dozens of turns ago to counter yours. So at the moment where both armies met in battle, all decisions have been made, and if there is a troop of 20 dudes hanging around who have not gotten any orders, and if there are one or two mages who got the wrong script or the wrong names, well, that's just a couple guys out of thousands and a couple commanders out of hundreds. They would have been dead anyway. It's of course completely different if we are talking small raiding armies. Then it can be that every man or monster counts. But in huge battles, well, nope. You just have to make sure that your strategy is sound, that your army composition is sound, and that you have scripted almost everyone. Making sure every single last commander is alright, it's a fool's errand. It's already hard in a normal game. It's completely impossible if you have a gimmick game like this one, with absurdly huge armies everywhere. I still quite unfondly remember the first more money, more problems style of game, where we went utterly mad trying to keep all our guys scripted. And I essentially was fighting in war of attrition against someone who had wisely opted to just swamp me with tons of skeletons and sacreds he could amass obscenely amounts of, thanks to having tons of money like everyone. While I, on the other hand, was still trying to fight him with huge stacks of mages, which was unsound judgment, not only because it stopped working after he countered me, but because he just had to put down, say, hundreds of sacreds with 1-2 clicks to a commander, made sure that his 1-2 super mages had the right scripting, and then he was done. I, on the other hand, had to make my armies, and then hundreds and hundreds of mages, and I'm telling you, even with shortcuts, it takes a while to scroll through 118 mages. And if you lose them all, then of course your stupid naming scheme is completely worthless, because you have to take the next stack of over 100 mages and script them all again. And if you want to still use your weird dumb naming scheme, then you have to rename all of them, which takes at this point far more time than just copying and pasting the same script over and over again, since that's just something you have to do one time. Control plus number, and then you just hover over the mage and press down the number and done. Positioning takes more time at that point. But renaming, please don't do this. Don't be me. Oh, anyway, as you see, my real army is taking forms on with hundreds and hundreds of undead, reinforced with hundreds and hundreds of dudes I had left over. But those will either die, be enslaved, or desert away anyway. What will stay are my demons and undead monstrosities, and my tons and tons of skeletons and Frankensteins. Those will be enough. So what I'm doing here is basically playing for time while my undead engine gets ready. After I remember, with every turn there's 1 or 2 mages more making those undeads, and I'm still not at the point where I'm using up more air games than I'm actually using, so the production can still go up, and I think I'm reaching the point of over 100 of those Frankensteins per turn soon, without, mind you, losing any air games, since I'm still somewhat away from my upper limit. That's, I think, the good thing above mixing air and death, when you have air death mages and run around trying to get death sides, and you're also getting air sides. So if you are then suddenly in a weird position to have to use air games to get your undeads, well, you have them, simply because you've used your weird combi mages to search for death games. And just for those not in the know, if you're searching magic sites in a province, your mages will always apply all the paths. There's nothing you can do about this. So if you have, say, 2 levels in death and 1 level in air, then you'll sometimes get air magic sites too. And if you have, like me, if you're a bit unlucky about getting what you want, then you get in a strange situation like I got in this game, as I have tons and tons of death mages and had all of them searching, but I have still a slightly higher air income, thanks to being a bit more lucky, in getting air sides and a bit more unlucky in getting dev sides. As I said, shit happens. Oh, anyway, I turned those lemons into lemonade, as I say, and now I just have to get the undead ball running at some point. It's the late winter of year 9. I have a Mount Fiend, gave him a skull staff, so he's level 4 in death, and cast the most nastiest of spells, which is at this point not darkness anymore, since everyone is in darkness anyway. But this just means I can use other death spells more, like Rigor Mortis, which would have been great if there were any real living enemies left, but we have Dying Pangea to the east, which is completely irrelevant. We have our enemy Bogarus, who at this time has probably more vampires than men, and Garth, who has even more vampires and demons at this point. So really, I'm a bit late to the party, but if there were some kind of living things enemy left, then I could really trample him. So I'm just equal on a lucky day, I guess. No easy target, but also not in a position to really win. But still more stuff to forge, more armies to gather, plans to make. Looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4 main armies still on the field, when I count all those gatherings correctly. And I still have tons of astral pearls and stuff I don't really need, so I can at least alchemize them into new dev gems. Trading would be better, but of course that's a bit late. No one in their right mind would trade with their enemy at this late in the game. Who would trade with me? Well, Pangea is conked out thanks to the player going inactive. Garth is my ally, sure, but they are not completely stupid, so they probably won't just flood me with dev gems when they really know that very close to victory or to war with me, depending on. And if in 10 turns he has to attack me to win, you probably wouldn't be keen to give me a couple hundred dev gems beforehand. So even my ally is out, then there is Bogarus, who is actively fighting us, so he won't trade with us either. And as you just saw, everyone else is dead. So trading is out, and alchemizing is in, even if it's ineffective. And the turn is over. Well, on to the last recording I made. Until then, Lebloidi out.